Namaste. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Alakananda Ma, Ayurvedic doctor and principal of Alandi Ayurveda Gurukula, a unique apprenticeship-style Ayurveda school in Boulder, Colorado. So today we are tackling the topic of are eggs vegetarian? And there are many answers to this. Many versions of a vegetarian diet do include eggs, the so-called ovo-lacto vegetarian, because that is where, once we got to pesco vegetarian, then my brother-in-law started joking about bovo-lacto vegetarian. In other words, not vegetarian at all. Um, so it's fine to be ovo-lacto vegetarian if it matches your reasons for being vegetarian. If your reason for being vegetarian is mainly on a health basis, it's fine to include eggs, but have a watch of my previous video and limit your eggs to 3 per week and one at a time, and eat your eggs as I have discussed last week. Um, In terms of bhakti yoga, many lineages avoid eggs. Not all, many do. Ours just happens to. As do many groups of Brahmins. Again, not all. It depends. In terms of bhakti yoga, practitioners of bhakti yoga do follow the principle of ahimsa, non-violence. So eggs, therefore, need to be avoided because they are a potential life. Then I have friends and their whole group or their whole lineage consider unfertilized eggs to be acceptable. But are unfertilized eggs, do they have ahimsa or ahimsa? So this all depends how deep we want to go into cruelty free. And that's very much a personal choice. In our case, we don't eat eggs, and that's definitely partly because of cruelty free, but also because in our lineage, eggs are avoided. And I'll explain why a little bit more of why further on. But if you're going to eat an unfertilized egg, doesn't that mean those hens are having a totally unnatural life in some kind of factory farm or battery? Is that good? Is that cruelty free? Many of us don't eat eggs but eat dairy, and how cruelty free can your dairy be? We're lucky much of the year we do get our dairy from mountain flower goat dairy, and I can make my own yogurt and cheese and everything from that milk, and that is 100% cruelty-free dairy where none of the baby boys born are going to be killed. They're all going to go to be pets or uh, the billy goats of their own herd or something of that nature. Um, in the end, even a vegan diet is not really cruelty-free, as every gardener knows who has ever accidentally cut a worm with their spade. As Gandhi himself says when he talks about he's writing about the monkey plague at the ashram, uh, how they had to deal with the monkeys that were stealing everything. And as he says, you can never practice perfect ahimsa because life itself is all bound up in the coils of himsa. There's an inherent violence in being alive. There's an inherent violence in eating. Then Sadananda said, what about wind-fallen fruit? And I'm like, well, that's pretty non-violent if you don't think about who dug the ground to plant the tree, which is why Jains end up becoming breatharians, aka walling themselves up and starving to death, which doesn't exactly sound non-violent or cruelty-free either. So it's all about your point of view. Everyone has their own place where they feel able to rest in terms of I'm being as cruelty-free as I can for myself and other creatures. So many practitioners of Bhakti Yoga do follow the sattvic diet as laid out in Bhagavad Gita. There are three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva is the mode of purity, rajas is the mode of passion, tamas is the mode of ignorance. Bhagavad Gita sets out which foods fit into which category, and dairy comes into the sattvic category, but eggs come into the rajasic and tamasic category, so they don't fit into a sattvic vegetarian diet. Basically, what happened for us, I hadn't really given up eating eggs when I got to India. I had become vegetarian initially, a diet for a small planet vegetarian. I'd become vegetarian for socio-political reasons, to protect the earth and fellow human beings. Once I became vegetarian, then the whole thing of animal cruelty naturally became a part of it. But I was still eating eggs. And then the disciples of Raghudas said, we don't eat eggs. In other words, if you're one of us and you shouldn't eat eggs either. Do you practice yoga? If you do practice yoga, you should consider adopting a sattvic diet. This is the diet that's laid out in the yoga texts, Garhanda Samhita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika. They do lay out the foods to eat. Again, that does include copious amounts of dairy and ghee, and does not include eggs, and definitely does not include meat. So you might want to see how much better your yoga will go if you adopt a sattvic diet. I'm going to end with a very funny little personal anecdote. It's taking place in India in 1981 when I'm a sadhvi, a wandering renunciate in India with just two saris and a water pot and a blanket, basically, and a Bhagavad Gita and gospel. Um, and I got really severe hepatitis A, and I was in hospital for a week. And then when I came out, I was very thin and I was very weak. And Sadhanan decided that I should eat an egg to help me get my strength back. This egg drama took place when we had returned back to Pune from Shirdi, where I had the hepatitis. So we go to a little uh, grocery shop. It's just like a little shack almost, and we purchase an egg. We're in Pune. We're actually in a Brahmin neighborhood of Pune, and we start going from one chai shop to another, asking them to boil the egg for us. And every single one refused because, as I said, we're in a Brahmin area of Pune, and Pune Brahmins do not eat eggs. So we went around and we went and around and we went around until we found ourselves back in front of the shack grocery place where I had bought the egg. And I sold the egg back to them. And I've never eaten an egg since because I realized Raghudas didn't want me to eat eggs. So you could try a sattvic diet if you think it might be right for you. See you next week. Namaste.